Hello guys, it's Hunt Unit 751 here, bringing you the requested Halo Ninja Warrior reaction video. Basically, what I'm going to be doing in this video is I'm going to be reacting to my first 16 tournaments on Halo Ninja Warrior. We're not wasting any time, jumping straight into the first tournament here. This is a long video, not going to lie. I finished editing this about 3 weeks ago. I've only just had the opportunity to do the audio because this is very long, and I'd rather just do it all in one go. I have come prepared, though. I've got a nice little notepad here of stuff I want to talk about. Jesus, I was quick in this first tournament. That's the first thing I've noticed. But yeah, Halo Ninja Warrior. This first tournament, which took place, I believe, at the end of 2012, this is an interesting one for me because at the time, I was well known for being obviously the host of Ninja Warrior of Halo, but I wasn't really well known or established in any way for being a decent Halo jumper. There were a few Halo jumping courses back in the day on Halo Reach, but no major courses like mine. Mine was really the big major course, and then there was lots and lots of other sort of smaller courses. Kenny had his Spartan Ninja Warrior course. Oh, actually, I should also point out that this was a great stage one run right up till that choke, and then I decided to start panicking. So yeah, that was a great choke by me here on this last obstacle. Yeah, Kenny had his jump course on Halo Reach, but that was even that. Like he tried to make it a serious course, but his uploading was even worse than mine back in the day, and. So yeah, this was the first big course. Actually, I should also point out that's actually the slowest stage one clear time. This tournament, there was no time limits. For anyone that remembers, this tournament had no time limits on any of the stages, so we could take as long as we like. But yeah, so this was really the first major course that that I was competing in. I knew Smokey had high aspirations at the time to get his course running and wanted to make it into a big thing. I don't think he ever directly talked about... wow, that choke on the salmon ladder. I don't think he ever directly talked about you know, comparisons to my course. My God, I suck at the salmon ladder in this first tournament. Thank God there's no time limit. I must have clearly been... I'm clearly abusing the no time limit rule to be choking this hard on the salmon ladder. Do I not know how to crouch? Apparently not. But yeah, I don't think Smokey ever directly, you know, referenced my course as being like, you know, I want to make it into a big course like Hunter's course. But yeah, this first tournament. I saw this as a big opportunity for myself to actually try and get into jumping courses, or actually as a competitor rather than just as a host. So yeah, it was definitely something different. I didn't really know how good I was. To be honest, I thought I sucked because even though, like I say, there was no major jumping courses, the courses that I did compete on, like Kenny's or Dom's or Irish's or Duster's or Epic Landlord or any of them, I didn't really do all that well on any of them. But yeah, this first tournament turned out quite nicely because I was the first person ever to make it to the third stage, despite having the slowest possible pace in the history of paces. I can't remember if I was the first person ever to make it to stage 3, or because the only other person that made it to stage 3 in tournament 1 was Phil, which when you think about that in the here and now is quite funny because it's Phil. But I can't remember if Phil did. I presume I must have done my run before Phil did his run. So I presume I was the first person ever to get to stage 3 on Smokey's course. But yeah, I honestly didn't really have any like targets or goals for this first tournament. I just wanted to do pretty well. I probably did set myself the target of trying to beat stage 1, but it's not really. Yeah, like I said, it's not really something I'd done on any of the other courses back on Reach. I kind of sucked back then. I didn't really. I don't know. Maybe it was just because there wasn't a major course to practice the way people would practice Ninja Warrior of Halo. But Yeah, this first tournament went pretty nicely for me, didn't it? This ultimate cliffhanger. I don't know. I want to say Smokey had a rule saying that you had to land on the fifth ledge here, because otherwise we all would have just jumped straight for the sixth ledge. But yeah, that was my first ever fail on a course. But it was a good starting point, definitely. Moving into tournament 2 after that fail. This tournament, I was angry. I don't know. I just didn't like this tournament. I was in a bad place almost with this tournament. Not like in life, just this tournament for some reason. I sucked so bad. I scraped through stage 1 because I was sucking at it in practice. I think I cleared this stage with a pretty fast time. The fact this time limit is only 65 seconds actually just kind of shows how how fast paced this stage 1 could be. But I recall just sucking in this tournament. Stage 2 was a horror show, as you'll find out with my metal spin fail. Straight up the waterfall. Yeah, this must be a fast time with how quick I'm going. This spinning bridge, this is an interesting obstacle. It wasn't very hard, this version of the spinning bridge, but it was that's a weird last obstacle. But yeah, I was just not good in this tournament for some reason, and I recall being like genuinely pissed off. Like when I ended up failing the metal spin, I was just like, yeah, fuck it, that's the run. I'm done. I'm just because I was sucking so much. But this was the tournament, obviously, as you can see, where he started implementing the time limits. This is really interesting. I don't know, maybe it's just looking at it from the perspective of the here and now, how short these time limits are. Not sucking so much at salmon ladders in this tournament. I'd obviously learned how to practice. In case you're wondering, by the way, why I'm in blue, it's because Smokey had a team system back then, so only people on the blue team could run on the course, and I think it was like red team was spectators. A great spectators platform in the background there. So this metal spin fail, it was just yeah. I mean, I don't really know what to say about that. It was just kind of like I probably jumped at a decent time, but I was way too far to the side, bounced off the corner of it, and that was the end of my rage fest in that tournament. But honestly, I don't know what on earth happened to me in that tournament, but it was good to recover and improve on it in this third tournament, which this was a tournament when I cleared the ultimate cliffhanger. I was the first person to clear it, and we're going through a nice little profile here of pretty much my entire tournament. You're going to be seeing a lot of profiles, incidentally, in this video. So yeah, there's a lot of me, as you can tell by how long this video is going to be. This video is going to take an age to upload to YouTube, not gonna lie. I'm recording this this audio on the 29th of July. Wouldn't be shocked if it says this video doesn't get uploaded on the 29th of July, because YouTube sucks right now for some reason. My God, I'm going quick. I don't recall back in the day. Like I feel like now I've become slow, but when I say slow, I mean almost like cautious. Like I'm trying to be careful. I go fast where I feel comfortable going fast. But I feel like back in the old tournaments, I was just Speedy Gonzalez, and I don't get how. Like comparing myself to okay, that's very unhunter-like. And I also can't hit buttons. I've wasted about 5 seconds there hitting the finish line. So let's just say that should have been about 25 seconds. But, and that could have been fastest time as well. Sleepy, remember? Oh, Dom! I've just spotted Dom's name on there. I also just saw Sideshow Freak. That's quite funny. Dom, those were the days. Anyway, yeah, I don't know how, I was Speedy Gonzalez back in the old tournaments, so just go hell for leather. It's kind of like how some competitors like Fireball or even Smokey himself, but I feel like when Smokey does it, he's still in control. He knows what he's doing. I'm not saying Fireball isn't as well, but sometimes it feels like some competitors just go absolutely insane hell for leather and somehow get through it, and I don't get how they manage to do it. But I felt like, especially in a lot of my early career, I was I was really just trying to go fast, 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 and not worrying about time limits. I think actually that's a trend you're going to see if you keep your close eye on all these stage 1 runs. I'm not sure how many times I actually fail a warped wall. What are we at now? Tournament 3, and I'm pretty all three warped walls we've seen so far, I've got up it in 1. I don't feel like I failed the warped wall that many times. That's a glitch there. The timer's fucked up. Fun fact actually, before we go on, about Tournament 3, is I was the first person to beat Stage 2 in this tournament, and therefore I was the first person to take on Stage 3, and subsequently because it was me, Sleepy, and Drago who all got to Stage 3, and we all beat the ultimate cliffhanger. But originally, I think my time was quicker. I don't know if it was the quickest, but it was. I think it must have been second quickest. And because Smokey back in the old tournaments did his Stage 2 and 3 run order based on time. So if you were the slowest person on Stage 1, you'd be the first person shown on Stage 2. Because I was second fastest, I was going to get shown second in the run in Stage 3, and so therefore I wasn't going to be the first person shown to beat the ultimate cliffhanger. So this is one of the very, very rare occasions where me and Smokey went back and refilmed Stage 2, and even though I was just talking about me being Speedy Gonzalez, we actually went back, redid this run. He must have changed the rule there that you don't have to land on the 5th ledge, because that's just flew across it just then. We changed. We went back and did Stage 2, where I was intentionally going slower so that I would have the slowest time and I would be the first person shown in the video to beat the ultimate cliffhanger. This jump sucks, by the way. I sucked ass on this jump. I didn't even crouch. To be honest, I think if I had crouched, I would have made it. I would have just flown off even more than what I did. But yeah, that tournament, it was just total satisfaction, to be quite frank. Getting past the ultimate cliffhanger was more than enough, and even though I choked so badly on the hang climb, and to be honest, not even that, the fact that I got beaten by both Sleepy and Drago, so I was actually the worst run on Stage 3 in that tournament, that was fine with me, to be quite honest. Simply because I beat the ultimate cliffhanger. Taking 3rd place, I was more than happy with that. And I was quite happy that both Sleepy and Drago did it as well. I would have been much happier, obviously, getting 1st place. But it was one of those things where it was happier to beat the obstacle. Now, Tournament 4, this Stage 1 was always weird to me. The Tournament 5 Stage 1's also weird. This Stage 1 had jumps in it that were deceptively difficult, and yet the stage itself was quite easy. I believe once you get past this jump coming up here, you might as well say you've beat Stage 1. And I only just beat it just then. Because this warped wall, much like his first 3 warped walls, was quite easy. And then this last obstacle is almost unfailable. I feel like there was a lot of clears in this tournament, but at the same time there was a lot of not top competitors, but there was a lot of known competitors that failed Stage 1 in this tournament. Yeah, I mean, Jesus, you can see the leaderboard there. What's that? 4, 5, 6, 7, 9? 9 clears already, and I'm... wait, Sleepy's ran, so Drago must be the last guy. So yeah, that must be like 10 clears on Stage 1, even though, yeah, it was a weird Stage 1. Smokey has a few weird Stage 1s, particularly in these early days. That's not a slam, by the way, Smokey. I do love you, I promise. But this, this is where I failed the balance tank in this tournament. This was a weird fail. So, this is a good time to talk about it. I think, oh, by the way, fuck the first obstacle. Sometimes he had tournaments where that first obstacle was just a nuisance for the sake of being a nuisance. But, I think there's 2 tournaments Oh, there's two tournaments. There's two types of doing jumps or doing jump courses where you're sort of taking it seriously, and then there's also taking it seriously and not taking it seriously at the same time. And when I say that, what I mean is, rip Smokey. Smokey died. What I mean by that is you're kind of doing an obstacle course, but you're not really paying attention to the jump you're doing. And so coming up here, the time limit. I think the time limit was quite strict, I want to say, in this tournament, because I'm not going that slow, but I've only got 10 seconds left. But that jump there, I didn't sprint for it, and it was kind of like I just wasn't really paying attention to it. I just went, I should get past it, and then I didn't get past it, and it was kind of like, oh, well, that's a bit surprising. But it was a double-edged sword because that tournament had the dice roll in it as the first obstacle, stage 3, and I did not want to attempt it. I just thought, like, oh my god, like it was not good, and I think Smokey himself would even admit it wasn't a good obstacle. But so yeah, I didn't lose too much sleep over not getting to stage 3 in that tournament. I wasn't angry like I was in tournament 2. So 5 tournaments in now. This is the first tournament on Forge Island. This is the first tournament where his courses start to take a little bit of structure. What I mean by that is the fact that all 3 tournaments, all of the first 3 stages are on one map, albeit they're a little bit scattered and hanging in the air. But and this tournament they didn't really look as nice as I feel they do from tournament 6 onwards, I believe. That spinning bridge is hard, by the way. But this is another stage 1 that I found weird. There was jumps on it. That jump into the jump hang caused so many problems for competitors, but didn't cause me any problems at all. And once again, this stage 1 was just so fast paced, almost choked there. Forgot about that. Excuse me, almost just had a little bit of a burp. But yet again, just a fast clear and just whipping out fast times, which I friggin' couldn't even begin to conceive doing in current tournaments nowadays. Jesus Christ, that's a lot of clears. But actually, there's one thing I haven't mentioned yet. I haven't talked about my intro. So probably, I'm sure plenty of people out there have wondered where it came from. And to be honest, there's not really a story behind it. The pure and simple of it was there was no weapons at the start line, like how there were. Jeez, oh my god, that would have been a horrific way to go out. I'd forgotten about that. I haven't touched this video in like 3 weeks, so I can't even remember. I can't remember every little detail about all these runs, but I'd forgotten about that. Still suck at salmon ladders. The intro, honestly, it just came from the fact that Smokey didn't have any other weapons, so you just started with the sword, which is what you spawn with. And I was kind of like, well, I'm standing here, I'm just going to slash the ground, looks like a cool intro. And then it just kind of stuck with me, and I've done it in, like, every tournament. There is a couple of stages where I haven't done it, as I'll point out, and Smokey very kindly points it out to me as well. But, yeah, it's just an intro that's kind of stuck with me, and now it's the Hunter intro. Anyone else who copies it is doing a Hunter. So, I should trademark it, to be honest. Should get some copyright rules on that. I could make a lot of money off this. Yeah, that's a good idea. Wow, that's a fast time as well. Also, incidentally, fuck Smokey, because I think this is the one and only run where I've been fast forwarded. I could be wrong, but I feel like this is the one and only time he's ever fast forwarded me, and it was on stage 3. So fuck him. That was also the incident in the infamous sweaty hands incident. I got off the cliffhanger and I stopped because my hands were just so sweaty. So I just stopped, wiped them for about 30 seconds, and then failed instantly on the next obstacle, the curtain cling, and it became known as the sweaty hands incident. And as a result, Smokey, well, I've never done it again, but Smokey is also encouraged never to wipe your hands during a run, otherwise you'll get sweaty hands incident. We're running on Tournament 6 now, in the gold armor, because now Smokey's got rid of the blue, as he calls it, he's gotten rid of the blue crap. By this point, Tournament 6, I've done 5 tournaments, I've beat Stage 1 in all of them. I was starting to now think about, am I one of the top competitors? I wasn't trying to be philosophical with it, but I was thinking, can I be considered one of the top guys on this course? Well, maybe not so much the top, one of the top guys. I think that was understandably, I was one of the top guys. I also got the fastest time in this Stage 1, which was nice. But I think it's more like, could I have the potential to be the top guy? Could I have the potential to be the guy? Because up to that point, Drago was undoubtedly the guy. I finished tied in first place in Tournament 1 with Phil. But then every other tournament, Drago had finished, so 2, 3, 4, and 5, Drago had finished first place. And he was the undisputed guy on the original Halo Ninja Warrior tournaments. But I still felt that with my performances, I had the potential to maybe be the number 1 competitor. It's not really something that came. I was thinking about it, but it's not like I was obsessed with it. But it did make me start thinking, the best possibility of doing it is of potentially being the number 1 guy is I had to get to the final stage, especially since Drago got to the final stage in Tournament 5. He was the first person ever to get to the final stage. And after he'd done that, but just missed out on total victory, I thought, okay, I've like I say, it wasn't an obsession. I wasn't like going into Tournament 6 thinking I have to make the final stage, but it was a kind of thought in the back of my head where it's kind of like, this is an opportunity, if I can get to the final stage, to match Drago. And subsequently in this tournament, I do just that. I get to the final stage for the first time, which is probably also my first ever final stage on any course. But yeah, it was. This was a good tournament. This is. People will forget this. This is technically, to all intents and purposes, this is my best ever run on a course. This is the furthest I've ever gone on one of Smokey's tournaments. Obviously, friggin' when we get there in about an hour or so, you'll see Tournament 16 where I make it back to the final stage again, but I get closer to the top before the time runs out in this tournament. So this is, strictly speaking, my best run. Actually, it's weird to think that, because, to all intents and purposes, and by that same logic, Drago's best ever run was back in Tournament 5. And then other people as well. Oh, God, it just feels weird. Actually, the quick thing I want to say about the curtain cling, I must be the only competitor to ever fail that obstacle. But I've then gotten better and better at it. This is also, I should point out, by the time when I got to this obstacle, I did think I'd done it, because I didn't think I was going to fail it, and fortunately I did just that. But I do have to say, fuck you, Shadow Elias, for ruining the moment with your coming online. Fuck you, Shadow. But, yeah, I must be the only person who fails the curtain cling on their first attempt and then subsequently just gets better and better at it. Because I don't know, maybe it was the sweaty hands incident, it got to me. But, I've never really had any trouble with curtain clings since then. I probably will jinx myself. I'm not going to say I'll never fail a curtain cling again, but I just seem to have the technique down for it. And I don't know, just don't seem to have any trouble with it anymore. Or I've never had any trouble with it again, as far as I can tell. I probably had at least one close call, I would say. I'm sure in one of these upcoming tournaments. But, yeah, rip the curtain cling. So now we're on the final stage, which is also weird because this final stage, I also had Black Ops with me, who, if any of you know, is the most random of all randomers to have ever made it to a final stage on any jump course. You can't hear me, but I'm chatting shit during this interview, like literally chatting total shit. I think I start talking about like the traditions and how me and Smokey both stick to the traditions of how we run our tournaments in terms of putting obstacles in. But yeah, even though I cleared first, we obviously agreed that Black Ops was going to run first or get shown first, and then I went second. But yeah, I think this was the big moment, especially watching it back when Tournament 6 came out. I think it kind of solidified that I was one of the top guys. I think it was, like I say, I think most people in the jumping community at that time would have said, oh yeah, Hunter's one of the top guys, but I think this kind of confirmed it when I made it to the final stage. Thinking back on it, from what I can remember, this, I don't know, I think I was more trying to be, I don't think I was trying to be overly cautious, but I obviously didn't go quick enough. As you're going to see, I mean, my first mistake is how close I'm standing to that first step. And then, I mean, if you just look at it, like I'm crouching too early and staying crouched for too long. I'm just trying to make sure I get every one of the jumps right. And I wasn't thinking quickly enough. I also took a little split second there to get onto the turrets, but I think that was understandable. With 10 seconds left here, I would have said, it would have been close, and I was just really trying to go quick. And then I made a mistake here. I grabbed the last turret and then instantly double-clicked again the X button to let go of it, thinking I could get a quick exit. But all it did was just make me get stuck on the last turret, and by that point I knew I'd lost. I was beaten, but it was kind of like I had a feeling I was going to be out of time anyway. I was going to just miss out. I missed how much time I had left when I grabbed the 6th turret, but I don't think I would have made it. But it was still so satisfying to get there, to get back, to get to the top of the tower. You know, when you think about it, there's not many people that can say. You think just how difficult it is to get to a final stage, let alone achieving total victory. But there's not many people that can say that they've at least stood at the top of a tower. Not even Gotenks. I mean, Gotenks has made it to the final stage 3 times. Never had the satisfaction, even in defeat, never had the satisfaction of standing at the top of Smokey's tower. But, yeah, at this point, I was kind of like, coming into this tournament, I don't know, I didn't really have any... I didn't think like, right, I've been to the final stage now. Now my target is total victory. I never really had any major targets like that in these tournaments. I feel like coming into this tournament, my goal was just to try and get back to the final stage again. Or at the very least, get to stage 3 again. I never really set I know there's people out there that set these sort of targets of like, okay, I mean, obviously some people, the almighty goal is to achieve total victory. And I'm not saying I don't want that either, but like I try and set myself realistic targets as well. And yeah, I feel like this tournament, I was just like try and get back to the final stage if I can, but at the very least get to stage 3. This flying chute was hard. I was worried about this obstacle. I was worried that obstacle was going to take me out. Fortunately, I got the jump right. I was even more worried when I was seeing the casualty list of competitors that failed it. I think Sane, Expose. I'm not sure if Sleepy failed it, the flying chute in this tournament. I think he failed it in the next tournament. But yeah, wow, Jesus, that was only the 4th fastest. That was quick as well. But yeah, I don't know. I think I was kind of at a crossroads in this tournament of kind of where I was at. There's another choke on the first. What's this first obstacle called? Somebody in the description tell me. I can't remember what he called that first obstacle. Not the brace. No, not the brace slider. That's something totally different. Maybe he called it he might have called it the cross slider. I can't remember. Smokey, you can tell me. If you don't tell me, then I know you haven't watched the video, bitch. But yeah, it never really crossed my mind actually about my stage 1 record. That's something that never really popped into my head until a few tournaments later. I think probably part of the reason why that is because actually there was still a lot of competitors that, although they'd not competed in every tournament, there was a lot of competitors that had still never failed stage 1. Like 7 tournaments in, I still obviously hadn't failed it. Drago had competed in every tournament. He hadn't failed. Dom had beat stage 1 in every tournament, although he every tournament he competed in, because he hasn't been in every tournament. Phil has beat stage 1 in every tournament he competed in. And then that's obviously not discounting competitors like Buddy, because I think this was only Buddy's second appearance. And there might have been a few others as well. But yeah, the stage 1 thing hadn't really come into my head. I don't think it really came into my head until a couple of tournaments later. But yeah, we got to stage 3, and this obstacle frightened me as well. There's a lot of obstacles in this tournament that scared me. This obstacle, I thought, I was just trying to be really careful in, because I thought I could slip up on it. As you're about to see here, I'm pretty sure, I just take my sweet ass time on this jump, because I thought it was going to be close. And I mean, like, as soon as I land on that small ledge, I'm immediately jumping to the other side just to be sure. But this cliffhanger, this was the tournament when Dom got to stage 3 and he just save jumped all 4 ledges. He basically did it in 4 jumps, or like 5. Wait, yeah, 4 jumps, and it was just brilliant. I wish Smokey's commentary could have done it justice, because I know Smokey doesn't like his commentary in these old videos. There you go. That's a good example. I kind of almost shot off the other side of the curtain cling, but I made it still. Now, this is another good example of what I mean about looking at a jump but not paying attention at the same time. Because any smart person would have just hit the crouch button there. But I just thought, I was getting on it, thought I was safe, and therefore didn't crouch. And because of that, I just slipped off. Now, Tournament 8. This one's a bit of a fuck-up, because obviously, as you guys may remember, this was the tournament where Smokey thought his friggin' Halo Ninja Warrior was coming to an end. Jesus, I've got a cough. I do apologize. I feel like I got oh god, I feel like I got a frog literally down my throat. You know what? I need a drink. Just a sec, guys. He cleared stage 1 with 15.594 seconds left. Right, there we go. That's better. Very professional, I know. This is not a tournament video, so we don't have to worry about being too professional. This was the tournament where Smokey lost. He deleted his hard drive or something. He was trying to transfer. He got a new hard drive which had way more space, and he accidentally, like, when he was doing the transfer, deleted everything off of his old hard drive, which included all of Tournament 8, some of Tournament 9, which had already been filmed, and obviously all of his maps and everything else as well. So what you're seeing here is the footage of the compilation video that he put together. Because if I just showed my runs, you'd have literally 15 seconds of footage for Tournament 8. And, I'd like to talk a little bit about Tournament 8, because this tournament was another tournament where I got first place. This was the 3rd time I got first place, 2nd time in 3 tournaments. This was also the first tournament, incidentally, where he introduced the All-Stars. It was me, Buddy, who just achieved total victory, Drago, Dom, and Phil. And this was also the first tournament where I became the only competitor to have been in every tournament, because Drago went through his depression stage, where after he failed in Tournament 7, he took a brief break from jumping. So I was the last person standing to have competed in every tournament of his, which was a big landmark for me. And this was probably the point where I started to think about... Also, by the way, actually, I feel like there was screen lag on this, because I thought on my screen I'd overshot that 3rd ledge and sort of bounced off of it, but actually in the footage, as you can see there, I actually landed it, sprinted, and then just forgot to jump. So that was definitely a choke and a half in terms of almost getting back to the final stage. But yeah, that was Tournament 8 was the first tournament where I finished finished, where I was the only person left that had competed in every tournament, and it was kind of something that stuck with me. I thought, oh, this is cool. You know, this is cool if I can be the only competitor to have been in every tournament. And this was maybe the point, not so much in Tournament 8, but especially in Tournament 9, where I started to think about my Stage 1 record. I suddenly thought, wait, oh yeah, I'm the only person to have been in every tournament, so therefore I'm the only person to have beat Stage 1 in every tournament. And at that point, it was kind of like, I've got to try and see if I can keep this record going. I don't know if... I probably always did take it like tournament by tournament, but I'm not sure if, like, you know, coming into Tournament 9, I looked at it and was like, okay, let's try and get to 10 clears in a row. You know, I'm not sure if I was trying to think too far ahead. But I probably started to think about it a lot more after this tournament, because this tournament was the first tournament where Dom and Phil failed Stage 1. And so subsequently, because of that, it got me thinking even more about my Stage 1 record. I know we're a bit late here because we're in the middle of Tournament 9, but I'd also like to give a quick shout out to that ragtag duo of people that made it to Stage 2 in Tournament 8, including the likes of Roll Some Face, Destiny's Pro, and I Love Black Ops. What a gang. What a squad. Anyway, Tournament 9. This tournament has, without a shadow of a doubt, one of the most bizarre fails you will ever see in Halo jumping history. This is the tournament where I somehow cleared and didn't clear the metal spin at the same time. This was also the second tournament, I believe, where I was the last competitor to run. I don't know what's wrong with the colouring there. It looks a lot bluer than it should. Yeah, this was... So I was the last guy to run Stage 1 in Tournament 2 when I failed the metal spin. And then this was the second time I was the last guy to go in Tournament 9, because obviously I'd finished in first place in 2 of the last 3 tournaments. And I do think it got to me a little bit. I do recall feeling a little bit under pressure because I was the last guy to go. I did feel a bit of expectations, and I think that kind of showed there. I'm losing track of how many chokes, like near misses, I've had on salmon ladders. It's actually worryingly quite a lot. How many chokes I've had there. I don't like this salmon ladder, by the way. You can see little bits that are sticking out, and sometimes it would fuck you. Fortunately, it didn't fuck me. I don't think it screwed anyone in the tournament, but it was definitely a janky salmon ladder. But yeah, I definitely recall feeling a little bit under pressure to do well, and I do think my Stage 2 run here was quite sloppy. I thought when I got to the metal spin, I had it in the bag, but the jump, I think that you could just look at it. Like, just all you have to do is just stop and look. I think the sprint jump I got off of the column on the metal spin was a little bit sideways. I don't know if I hit the antenna a little bit, but then I landed just on the corner of the jump, got a save jump, and thought I could bounce off the wall and make it. So then when I didn't make it, again, I recall being pretty pissed. For some reason, well, maybe not for some reason, but I repeatedly got pissed whenever I failed a metal spin. And that definitely had an impact on me because it made me think. This was, like I say, Tournament 7, I had that tournament, you know. Tournament 4, I've mentioned about how I was sort of not paying attention to the jump. Tournament 7 as well, maybe even to a degree Tournament 8. But after Tournament 9, it got me really thinking about every jump. And I had this mindset on Aborigines, as I'm sure a lot of you know. I took 17 tournaments to finally beat Stage 1 on abs. And a lot of that is down to just not taking abs seriously. Like, I'm taking it seriously as a jump course, but when I'm running the course, I'm like not taking it that seriously at all. But yeah, like from season 2 onwards on abs, I really started taking it seriously in terms of like I was paying attention to the jumps that I was doing. Whereas in season 1 of abs, I was just kind of I was just going through it. I wasn't really paying attention to each jump. I was almost like jumping blind to a degree. That's a bloody fast time. That might be the fastest time I've ever had clearing a stage. and it gets destroyed by Buddy. I'm pretty sure I also get the second fastest time in stage 2 as well. So I was literally number 2. I was Mr. 2 in this tournament. But yeah, season 1 of Abs, I was kind of not paying attention to any of the jumps. But then season 2, I started paying attention to what I was doing. I think that's kind of showed in my results in season 2, which is obviously culminated in the stage 1 clear I finally managed to get on Abs. And I think to a degree there was a similar thing with Smokey's course. There was a few fails where I look back on it now and I realized that maybe I wasn't paying attention to the jump I was doing. And that metal spin was kind of like almost the last straw for me. I was kind of like, right, okay, I got to be head in the game for every second of when I'm on the course. I can't take any obstacle for granted or take any jump for granted. And so I think from tournament 10 onwards, you sort of see a different Hunter to a degree in terms of paying attention to every jump I'm trying to do. To be honest, you could also argue that's subsequently led to, because this was the tournament where I also start my stage 3 streak. I think before tournament 9, I had 4 stage 3s in a row, and you can see how happy I am that I made it just then. I think, yeah, tournament 5, 6, 7, and 8, I made it to stage 3, and then lost the record in tournament 9. But this tournament is the first tournament where I start my streak of stage 3s from tournaments 10 to 16. So that's 7 tournaments in a row where I get to stage 3. And I think a lot of that is down to just paying attention to what I'm doing, paying attention to every jump, not taking anything for granted. And now we get to stage 3. This tournament, without a doubt, this run you're about to watch is without a doubt the biggest regret I've ever had in maybe any jumping tournament period, but especially any tournament of Smokies. And I'm going to stop for a second so you can listen to this audio.
Let's see how he does. Doing the signature intro here. We're totally not sick of watching that, Hunter. Yeah. Alright, here he goes. On to stage 3. Nope, he's looking at the spectators.
Hi, Smokey.
Hi, Hunter. Come on, Hunter, go.
Okay.
Go, Hunter. Okay. Alright.
Smokey also has some of the best commentary of mine that he's ever had in this stage 3 run, which probably makes this run even more memorable. But this is the stage 3 where I have the biggest regret, because I absolutely destroy this stage 3, and then what happens at the end is just heartbreaking. Now here comes my favourite line of Smokey's, incidentally, that you'll ever hear.
He does. He's back to the ultimate cliffhanger. The first obstacle he ever failed. Maybe it won't be the last though. Oh wait. Oh, whatever. Or what? Okay. Anyway, he's on the 5th ledge. Oh, he goes right for the 6th one.
I'm sorry. It cracks me up every time. I'm sorry. I just had to leave that in. But yeah, I was just going so fast. This is one of those stages where I was just so comfortable with how quick I was going. I don't know why I jumped there. It was just natural to do that on the spider flip. Smokey gave me shit for it. But then I got here so fast, and then I get to this last jump, and I do it way, way too fast. Just, it was utterly, utterly devastating. I cannot tell you the number of times I have watched this stage 3 run and just cried. Well, not cried, literally, but like, at the end of it, I was just absolutely gutted. Shout out to Buddy at the end there. But it was just absolutely horrible. The music made it even more horrible, and it made me start demanding that Smokey use that as my fail theme for every run, which he didn't do, but you know. But Tournament 11, I'm not going to lie. This is the tournament, arguably, where this was the closest I ever came to losing my Stage 1 record. This Stage 1, bizarrely, was really tough. Smokey came into this tournament not thinking this Stage 1 was going to be difficult. He didn't highlight any specific obstacle that he thought was going to be an absolute killer, and he thought a lot of people were going to clear. But then, when we got to the tournament, people were just making lots and lots of mistakes. And I made a mistake. My first attempt, I failed this obstacle somehow. And because I'd done my run, I did my run quite late, I watched Buddy fail stage 1. I knew Drago had failed stage 1, and that was his first ever stage 1 fail. And so I was genuinely nervous that I was going to lose my record. And like I say, I came so close because I failed on my first attempt, and the pressure was so on me. But thank God I managed to pull it through, and incredibly managed to get the fastest time. I just flew. I just did what I had to do. Puma hates me for it because I steal his fastest time in this tournament. But you can see me slashing, and that is genuine relief because I honestly thought I was going to lose it. I was going to lose my stage 1 record there and then. So getting through, that was without doubt the most satisfying stage 1 clear probably I've ever had, not just up to that point, probably ever.
A little bit nervous.
But you can hear me doing an interview for stage 2. Coming into the second stage, this stage 2 actually proved to be just as difficult as stage 1 because the medal spin was causing a hell of a lot of problems, and me and Gotanks, so I was 49 in this tournament and Gotanks was 50, so we're the last 2 guys to run number-wise in the tournament, and we were the only 2 to get to stage 3. It was definitely a unique experience, to say the least. But again, because I was one of the last to go, I saw a couple of stage 2 runs, and I saw the medal spin was causing problems. I don't recall having too many issues with this specific medal spin. Not in practice anyway. I knew it could still take me out, especially since I'd failed it twice before. But no, I don't recall. Being too worried about it. I felt a little bit of pressure on me because no one had beat stage 2, and I knew that if I did beat it, I would be the first person to do it, and so that just felt weird in itself. But I think the relief of how close I came to failing stage 1 and the fact that I managed to do it, I think that kind of calmed me down, and so I felt a little bit more relaxed coming into stage 2. This stage 2 actually also I love because he puts it behind the mountain, and I think it just looks really cool where he's put it in this tournament. This spider walk was quite tough as well, as I recall. There was a jump. He's got spider walks where there's jumps. It's this jump here where he has spider walks where there's one jump in it that's really difficult. I almost failed the balance tank here. The audience can't see it, so they didn't know at the time, and Smokey probably didn't know until he watched the clip back. But you can see there, I almost screwed up the jump getting off of it, which would have been pretty funny, to be honest. It would have been bad considering how everyone else did, at least like getting to the medal spin. But yeah, I rode my luck a little bit on that balance tank, but managed to make it through. I'm pretty sure I get the fastest time here as well. I think this is the only tournament where I have the fastest time on stages 1 and 2. Even though that clear time is slow as shit. But, and then stage 3. This stage 3. So tournament 10 was just absolute heartbreak with how I failed. Getting so close. This tournament, I recall this one being one of frustration because I failed a jump that I didn't think I was going to fail. What do you call it? The bungee rope climb, I think he called it. It was the second to last obstacle on stage 3. And this was another stage 3 where I was going quite fast. Like I say, I don't know how I pulled it off. Like, I was going so quickly through that tournament 10 stage 3, it's just simply because I felt comfortable doing it. But I recall going at a pretty quick pace in this stage 3 as well, and yeah, I just slipped up, and I remember being frustrated because I'd made it to the last obstacle 4 times in a row on stage 3 up to that point, and I kind of broke that streak a little bit, and also the fact that I wanted another crack at that last jump, and it didn't happen because I'd failed a jump, obviously, that I wasn't expecting to fail. But yeah, I don't really know. I'm kind of lost for words on what to say in Tournament 11 here. This was just one of those tournaments that was kind of all the intensity and action had happened in the first 2 stages, and by the time we've got to this 3rd stage, it was only me. Like, this episode, I think, is only like 10 minutes long, and it's literally just me and Gotenks. It's definitely a weirder tournament, and I wouldn't be shocked if it's a kind of tournament that you'll never see again. Like, you'll never see something like this happen again, unless Smokey makes another super hard stage 1 and stage 2. Oh yeah, he spelled bungee wrong. I just read he spelled it bungee as in the company rather than with a double E. So that jump there, I knew it was a tough jump. I didn't crouch, you can see there, but I don't think. I don't think crouching. I think crouching would have just pushed me off of the column. So I was just trying to commit to the corner, but I don't think I got far enough on the corner. And so yeah, I just recall being quite disappointed. That was another tournament where I'd finished in 2nd place. That was back-to-back 2nd place finishes. But oh yeah, actually that's another thing I haven't even mentioned. The fact that in all 16 of these runs, I think the lowest finishing position I've ever had is 6th place, which I've had on the 3 times I failed stage 2. But every other time when I've made it to stage 3, I've finished in the top 3, which is also, I mean, like I say, I'm not trying to blow my own trumpet here by throwing these stats around, but it's a nice testament to the fact that, 13 times getting to stage 3, and all 13 times I finished on the jumping equivalent of a podium. This stage 1, actually, I recall. This stage 1, I was so determined. This was probably the most determined I was to keeping my stage 1 streak alive, because I knew this was the last 360 tournament. And I thought, come on, let's go out on a high. Let's finish stage 1, 12 clears out of 12 on the 360. I somehow failed this obstacle on my first attempt, and that got me pissed off. I don't know how I did it, so that's why I was going so careful through it. And that's also, I think, so you didn't see it, but Tournament 8, I'm pretty sure I take like 3 or 4 attempts to get up the warped wall in that tournament, but every other tournament I've managed to get up the warped wall in 1. So that's 11 times in a row where I beat the warped wall first time, which is also pretty cool. Even though I'm going quite fast, I was trying to be careful on that last obstacle, and I think that kind of led to mistakes. So I was kind of breaking my own mantra. But beating stage 1 there, I was so happy. I was happy to have finished on a high, even though it was quite slow, just to have finished on a high note, beating, having a 100% record on stage 1 on the 360. I felt satisfaction enough at that point to like, I wasn't even worried about what was going to happen in the rest of the tournament. I still obviously wanted to keep getting to stage 3, but I feel like if I had failed stage 2 in this tournament, I wouldn't have been as disappointed because I kept the stage 1 streak alive. I probably would have still been frustrated and maybe angry because I would have liked to have had one last crack at stage 3 on the 360. But yeah, it was the tournament 12 I recall was definitely a tournament where the outright target was just beat stage 1. But this tournament, I recall this tournament, this was a nice. I liked the obstacles he had in this tournament. It was just different. His stage 1 looked quite different, quite cool, and his stage 2 had the swing ladder in it. Wait, did he call it the swing ladder? I think he called it the swing ladder, which was a fun obstacle, especially with the infinite amount of ways you could do it. I almost failed the swing ladder actually in this tournament, which was
has attempted stage 2 more than any other competitor has even attempted stage 1.
forgot I'd put that in. Yeah, so that's, for me, is the stat that always makes me happy. On I don't know if you didn't hear it because I was kind of talking at the beginning of it, but yeah, he said I've attempted stage 2 more than any other person's attempted stage 1. So Phil, I think he missed this tournament, so he's competed 10 times, and he's the most experienced competitor. He's the second most experienced competitor apart from me. So let's say, so let's take the 60. Oh yeah, it was called the swing ladder. I almost fucked this up so bad. I almost pixeled it, I think is what Smokey called it, jumping off the other side there. But yeah, so if you take Phil, who's in every tournament after this, so that's 14 tournaments he's been in. So he's attempted stage 1 14 times. I've attempted stage 2 16 times. That's just, if you actually really think about that on a jump course. And again, sorry, I'm not trying to blow my own trumpet, but I guess to a degree that's what this whole video is. But I could have just ran off and probably still made it. I don't know, I guess I just took the jump just to be sure and then almost ended up failing anyway. Oh, Puma loves me, and I love you, Puma, even though you do beat me in this tournament. But yeah, it's just bizarre to think, how many stage 2 runs how many attempts I've had on stage 2, and then you think about every other competitor ever has attempted stage 1 less times than I've attempted stage 2. The only way I could make that even better is if Phil misses a tournament and I can get, I've attempted stage 3 more times than anyone else, but I'm not gonna I mean, obviously I can't do that unless I kill Phil, but that would just make it even more insane. But it's not something I'm expecting at all. But yeah, coming into this stage 3, I was not confident. This was one of the first stage 3s in a long time where I was not confident, because this stage 3 is arguably one of the toughest stage 3s. This might be the toughest stage 3 he's had up to this point in Halo Ninja Warrior history, but you could also make a case that this is one of the toughest stage 3s, period, that he's ever had on a Halo Ninja Warrior tournament. Even though Buddy clears this stage for me is so tough. There's so many even this first obstacle, if you get it wrong, can screw you up. This obstacle, there's a couple of spots. It's easier than the bungee rope climb that I failed in tournament 11, but you can easily screw up one of those. There's so many obstacles where you can make a mistake or you can slip up because it's tough. Maybe that's the best way to describe it. This is a stage 3 where there's so many jumps that are tough, as opposed to other stage 3s where he has obstacles and jumps in them which are tough, but he also has a lot of obstacles that are reasonably easy, or not easy, but because no stage 3 obstacle is easy, but he's got lots of stage 3 jumps which were reasonably not too difficult. I did think that this cliffhanger was going to get me though. When I failed this, I didn't feel. I recall being disappointed, maybe slightly angry, but not nearly as much as I have been in other tournaments, because I just knew there was every possibility I could have failed this jump. I just didn't feel. You'll have noticed that I've never tried to land a crazy cliffhanger jump, simply because I never feel comfortable and I never feel confident enough to trust myself to try and land on the 4th ledge and not do a save jump. So subsequently, because of that, I've always just save jumped and tried to save jump my way through it. But because Smokey's a little bitch, Smokey obviously decided to eventually make the jump off of the crazy cliffhanger. He decided to make it difficult, which subsequently kind of made my technique a lot harder, and so it started to cause me problems in these future tournaments. But yeah, coming on to Tournament 13, the first tournament on the Xbox One, and this was another philosophical moment for myself where I started thinking about it. I'd obviously managed to keep hold of my record on the 360, and me and Smokey had talked a lot about it coming into the MCC, but I really started to think about, this is an opportunity because more people are going to be finding out about this course, hopefully finding out about my course, but also finding out about Smokey's course on the Xbox One, because obviously it was a new console, it was a new game, it was the next generation of competitors competing. And so from my point of view, in terms of competing on Smokey's course, I felt a huge determination to perform and put on it, because I didn't want to be the guy that would have a 100% record on stage 1 on the 360, but then would just be your average Joe, would just be your average another competitor, just another one of the guys on the Xbox One. And that subsequently made me probably even more determined to keep up my record. I'd obviously, like I say, by the time I got to Tournament 9 or Tournament 10, the Stage 1 record was absolutely a factor for me, keeping it alive. But by the time we got to the Xbox One especially, I was taking it seriously. Every tournament, in terms of keeping every tournament was all about keeping the Stage 1 streak alive. This tournament, incidentally, I talked about Tournament 11 being the closest I've been to failing Stage 1. This tournament is probably the most nervous I've been for a Stage 1 run, because this Stage 1 was really tough. Only 4 people, including myself, beat this Stage 1, which, that's the lowest he's had in any tournament. And that warped wall, Tournament 8, but you guys didn't see it, so this was the first time on camera that you saw me struggling with a warped wall. And I can remember when I got off the Brave slider, because I thought that was an obstacle I thought I could fail. When I got off that, I recall saying, the worst is behind me. Subsequently, then I take 4 attempts at the warped wall. As soon as I get up it, I'm like, Smokey, how much time I got left? How much time I got left? You still got time, Hunter. And I just zoomed. I just, excuse the language, fucking went for it. I went for it after that. Full speed, pedal to the meadow, and fortunately managed to clear. It wasn't as close as it wasn't a snaz. I didn't scrape through with 0.1 of a second left. 2.5 made it a bit more realistic. You can see the Tournament 8 comparison. I don't know why, but for some reason he shows off a lot of Tournament 8 clips in this tournament, and didn't show them off in the Tournament 8 Tournament 8 compilation video. I don't know if he just went back and recreated it or something, but that was a huge. Any time where I've had a Stage 1 where I've just about managed to get through, it happened in Tournament 11, and then it happened again in this tournament. Getting through the Stage 1 arguably set me up to just be a lot more comfortable on stages 2 and 3. Oh, this is the infamous. I forgot about this. This is the infamous didn't do my intro. Hunter, you're not doing your real intro. Well, in a shocking twist, Hunter didn't do his normal intro. That was a great Smokey impression, by the way. MCC Halo 2 Anniversary sucked with sword slashing, so I decided to protest by just not doing my intro the way I normally do it. This was also the infamous banged my knee incident. Basically, when I did the chain reaction, I suddenly realized as I was going down the second slide, I still had my knees up on the window board. So literally, my legs were up in the air, and I was chilling like it was a practice run. So I was like, oh shit, I should probably put my legs down and take this seriously. And as I put them down, I smacked my knee off of the radiator, I think it was, and it really hurt. But all I said down the mic was oh, I've banged my knee. So Smokey's just thinking, what the fuck's that supposed to, what the fuck? Get on the course, Hunter. Fortunately, it didn't affect me, because I think I still cleared with the fastest time here. I suck at blowing up a landmine as well. This is another one where I get a fastest stage 2 clear time, and it's slow as dicks. I'm pretty sure that's even slower than my fastest time in Tournament 11.
But it didn't matter. He held his own.
I phased through that pallet as well. Phasing through pallets and sucking at blowing up landmines.
It doesn't matter because Hunter will be moving back on
Ah.
to stage 3. Joining his friend Double Ump. Yes, everyone's friends on the show.
Sorry, I was just listening to that. He just said, joining his friend Double Ump. Yes, everyone's friends on this show, in case you didn't know. Which is true, everyone is friends on this show. Everyone loves each other. Apart from Fireball. Nobody loves Fireball.
Next up on stage 3 is the most experienced stage 3
But,
competitor of all.
yeah, I feel like any tournament where there's not many clears is just a better tournament. It just, and I don't mean that in a pessimistic way, like I want to see everyone fail. What I mean by that is that it just makes it a lot more intense if you have a tournament, if you have a stage 2 where there's only like 4 people on it, and then this stage 3 where there was only 3 people on it. I recall this stage 3, this episode was just, this one felt a lot more fun than the Tournament 11 one. I don't know why. Maybe it was just the stage itself. I liked this stage 3 for the obstacles that were on it. By the way, this is the fastest you'll ever see me do any obstacle ever in the history of anything. Jeez, Hunter, calm down. What are you doing? Jesus Christ! Jesus Christ up the ass! Anyway, yeah, I don't know why I went so fast on that, but I did. So, and it worked. So, yeah. This, this stage 3, this was another stage 3 where I didn't feel as much in Tournament 12 as I did in Tournament 12, but this stage 3 I did remember feeling like this is a tough stage 3. This is going to be very difficult to get through. And because of that, I kind of lowered my expectations a little bit. I was at a point of kind of like, okay, well, we'll see how far we can get. And subsequently, this is probably one of the most satisfied I've ever been with failing stage 3, because I knew how tough. Like even this Devil Steps, like you can see me crouching down it so slowly and carefully, because even that you could fail and screw up. I wasn't as worried about the cliffhanger, even though I failed this in the last tournament, because I think Smokey calmed down the landing jump, like the jump off of this, for this tournament, but then beefed it up again in Tournament 14. So I wasn't as worried about this jump, and subsequently, obviously, I get past it. But when I fail I also go super fast on these jumping bars. Like I say, there's so many runs that you've seen so far, and I think there's a couple coming up as well, where if you see me go fast, then you just know that based on the practice I've put in, I just feel comfortable. I feel comfortable with going fast. But this hang climb, my God, this hang climb was just a bitch. I don't recall. I think I maybe got past this a couple of times in practice, but I think I knew if there was one obstacle I was going to fail, it was this. And the fact I stayed on it for as long as I did was testament. I think because of how long I managed to survive on it, that when I did fail, I was laughing. I was just like, yep, all right, there's no way I'm doing better than that, so I'm more than satisfied. And I was probably doubly satisfied when I got the first place finish. Which this is my 4th time getting first place. It's the first time I got it since Tournament 8. So regretfully, this is also the last time I have a first place finish in this video. So I talked earlier about Drago. He had like 4 first place finishes in a row from tournaments 2 to 5. That was also the only period where he got a first place, so he was on 4. And I think this also got into my head as well. I don't know when it got into my head. I imagine it was before this tournament. But I was like, okay, I got to get a 4 first place finish so I can tie with Drago. And when I got it in this tournament, I then started to make it a bit of a goal, a bit of a target. Come on, let's try and get that 5th first place finish so I can outright be considered outright have the most first place finishes out of anyone, but also, maybe to a degree, outright call myself the #1 competitor on this course. And this is something else, I can come into this now, I can start talking about this. This tournament, oh yeah, I've put this friggin' intro in because it's so bizarre. Hang on.
Oh, hey you guys, sorry. Let's enjoy running my own course. Let me find a better place to stand.
Why did he put that in? Answers on a postcard why he put that in. Oh, excuse me, guys. Just love to run my course. Anyway, another great Smokey impression there, by the way. I feel so. I've been talking earlier about my transition on this course, like tournament 1 coming into it, like I was determined to try and see how good of a competitor I was rather than just being a host. And then tournament 5 or 6, I started to think about am I one of the top competitors on this course? I didn't talk about it at the time, but after Buddy achieved total victory in tournament 7, I kind of accepted, okay, I'm the number 3 on this course behind Drago and Buddy. But then when both of them actually. Drago failed stage 1 in tournament 11. And I think Smokey talked about it in commentary here, and subsequently he starts talking about it in future tournaments as well. He starts talking, is Hunter the number 1 competitor of all time on this course? Because both Buddy and Drago started failing stage 1 and then both stopped competing. Like Drago I think lost love for jumping, and I've said it before in my videos as well. After his tournament 7 heartbreak on the final stage when Buddy did it and he didn't, I think he kind of fell out of love with jumping a little bit. Oh my god, I forgot about that. I forgot about that pole maze. That was bad. Smokey sounded disgusted on commentary just then. It was so loud. I actually heard him say, "What is that?" This stage 1 actually, I recall, I had a few close calls. The pole maze, I somehow screwed that up. I think I landed so close to the edge that I was worried I was going to fall out, so I just backed up and did it again. And then this brace slider, I almost screwed up as well. When I was doing the run, I didn't even notice that I was on the edge. I just thought it was normal. But then watching it back, I actually saw how close to the back of it I was. Warped Wall didn't have as much trouble on it that time, and at that point I think I was going to make it. Anyway, sorry, getting back on point, because I went off topic there a little bit. By the time, tournament 7, I saw myself as the number 3 on the course. But then when Drago and Buddy started failing stage 1, and then subsequently they both stopped competing, I suddenly realized, wait, this is arguably my chance, my shot to be considered the number 1 competitor of all time. And I know better than anyone how difficult it is to beat stage 3, let alone achieve total victory. So even though I wanted to establish myself as the number 1 competitor, I didn't set out on a Puma quest. And I say Puma here because at the time Puma was he was so determined to get to the final stage and try and achieve total victory. I set myself off on a Puma quest to a degree. I didn't set myself off on a Puma quest to try and achieve total victory. I just was determined to keep up my consistency. First on stage 1, but then also keep up my consistency by getting to stage 3 over and over again. And I knew that if I could keep doing that, then there was no way I couldn't not be considered the number 1 competitor on this course. The total victory would have absolutely cemented it, I think. But I knew realistically how difficult that was going to be to achieve, and so I changed my goals at that point to simply focus on beating stage 1, getting to stage 3, doing well on stage 3, and if I can, trying to get first place finishes. I haven't even talked about the intro. The intro number 2. You saw it a bit on tournaments 11 and 12 when he started putting guns at the start line. I decided to start mixing up the intro a little bit, and I know Smokey didn't like it in tournaments 11 and 12. So I kind of stopped doing it, but then after the Halo 2 anniversary fiasco in Tournament 13, I was like, fuck it, I'm bringing back this intro for Stage 2. So now I do the slashy, shooty on Stage 2. But oh my god, I just noticed the huge crowd in the background. You can tell I'm a popular competitor, ladies and gentlemen. Don't know if you knew. I don't know if you knew that. Some people consider me a big deal. Anyway. So yeah, it just at that point, it became my goal of continuously keeping up my stage 1 streak. Then became a goal of just being consistent, really, and trying to. And like I say, I don't know how much people know about this. I don't know how much I spoke to Smokey about it, but it was always in the back of my mind. Just that was my goal. That was my goal to do it. Look at the crowd, like Jesus! I love when big crowds watch runs. We had it in Umps stage 3 run in tournament 17 on my course. But my God, I love a big crowd on stages 2 or 3. It really gets to me when that happens. But yeah, I think subsequently the reason why I'd set myself that goal of trying to be consistent, that led to arguably one of the biggest disappointments I've ever had, which came in this tournament when I failed the crazy cliffhanger again on stage 3. Because this time round, I had a feeling I was still not confident about the hang climb in this tournament, but I thought, you know what, I attempted it in the last tournament, so I have experience on it. And I think by the time I did my run, Puma had already done his run, so I knew he beat it. I think I had the feeling that, you know, I could have had an outside chance at beating the hang climb. But then when I failed the jump off of the crazy cliffhanger, the same way I did it in Tournament 12, and subsequently because of that, I fell earlier than I was expecting to. I was so pissed off. That was probably the most. That's probably the last time I've gotten like super emotional and frustrated at a fail. I can recall being so pissed off after this run, and it was to the point where I was so pissed off that once I got offline and woke up the next morning, I suddenly thought, my God, I was a fucking idiot last night. Like why did I get so emotional? I made myself. I sounded like an idiot in front of Smokey by doing that. Which I think that kind of helped me to a degree, because it meant when I did fail in future tournaments. I mean, if you've watched Smokey's tournament 17, you can hear me laughing in the replay of the fail because even though I failed in a retarded way in tournament 17, I kind of saw the funny side of it to a degree. And that's, I think, me trying to just be a bit more relaxed, and not try and get overly emotional if I fail, if I fail, or where I fail. But yeah, this tournament was a bad one, as you're going to see for my. I don't know why I went so slow through this, because the next tournament or the tournament after, when he puts this obstacle back in, I fly through it. So I must have just been really unconfident about the drum hopper. But one satisfying thing that did come from this fail, at least, was that I did manage to keep up my top 3 record. I don't know what it was. I wasn't even thinking about it. I just thought, I could do it as I did in tournament 13, and I'd be fine. So, and then I just failed. I just came up short, and I wasn't sure what I'd done wrong. I think I was right to save jump, because I think I was going to slide off then. But then when I came up short, I was just like, what the fuck? Like, what just happened? Which subsequently led to the anger and the disappointment and the frustration, the huge amount of frustration. But yeah, this without doubt was the most recent time when I've been really frustrated at myself. But at the same time, it's probably one of the most frustrated I've ever been, period, with a fail. Which is really saying a lot when you consider the amount of fails I've had on this course, particularly on stage 3. So, yeah. I think it was also around this point where I was really starting to think about my final stage, because at this point, by tournament 15, this is now 9 tournaments since I made it to the final stage. Oh, we do some friggin' weird ass drug infested intro here. I'm looking at the waters, and I can't remember what Smokey says. Is like draining the jumping powers or something from the waters of Forge Island, I think he tries to say. I can't remember. Maybe if I shut up and listened, then you would have heard it. But yeah, this was the point where I was really, after the Tournament 14 fell, I was really starting to think about the final stage again. Because even though I've just said, like, my goal was, be consistent on stage 3, that doesn't mean I wasn't ruling out trying to get back to the final stage. It's always been my goal to try and make it back to the final stage, especially after Tournament 6. Well, yeah, obviously after Tournament 6, make it back to the final stage for a second time, I meant. But especially I recall after my Tournament 14 fail, I was really thinking about it because it had got to the point where it was like, I've only been to the final stage once, that means I'm amongst a lot of other competitors like Jop, Snaz, Black Ops, who else? Is there somebody else, or is that it? No, I think that's it, yeah. Amongst those 3 competitors, I'm amongst that bracket of competitors that have only made it once, but I wanted to be amongst the bracket of Drago, Buddy, Gotanks, of making it to the final stage twice. Of course, Gotank shits on it in Tournament 16 when he gets to the final stage for a 3rd time. But, yeah, that just became my goal, and it just really got to me after my Tournament 14 fail. I was like, I've got to try and get back to the final stage for a 2nd time at that point. This stage 1 was weird. This is a stage 1 that was really cool with the obstacles he had, but at the same time, really frustrating because of the obstacles he had. The Bridge of Blades was tough, and that bouncy bridge thing, I can't remember what he called it, I wasn't looking. That bouncy bridge thing was really annoying for me. The brace slider was also a little bit tougher in this tournament. But surprisingly, the time limit was quite lenient. I cleared stage 1 with almost 15 seconds, and I was talking about it earlier, about how I went so fast in the original tournaments, but then as the tournaments have gone on, I've kind of slowed down a little bit. I do think obviously I did fail the warped wall and have slip ups in tournaments 13 and 14. But when I cleared stage 1 and he was like, oh yeah, I had 15 seconds left almost, I was like, really? Oh, that's fast for me. Like I knew, like, oh god, I'm a slow git now. I love this shot as well. They just jump, the pair of them just jump in unison into the water. I find it quite funny. But this stage 2, actually, I wanted to talk. Oh, shout out to the Hoff shield generator in the background there, because it hasn't been said yet. Oh, I do the normal intro in this one. Oh, okay, never mind though. There's the guns. I think I also shoot Smokey here, just because I can. Lol. Don't worry, Smokey gets me back later on, as you're going to see. This stage 2, I talked about earlier, Tournament 3, we redid the stage 2 so that I would be shown as the first person. Smokey, I think, lost the footage of my stage 2 run, or like he just lost like the video that he'd recorded, like it got corrupted or something, so we had to redo stage 2 again. Which is the reason why, as you're about to see here, I decided to Cowboy Wrangler this balance tank. I knew that I couldn't get it rolling, so I just jumped off to get it, and then I just decided to start jumping, and like, my god, like anyone who doesn't know would just think like Hunter's lost his mind for stage 2, but anyone that does know, and subsequently you know now because I just told you, this run effectively counted for nothing because I'd already cleared stage 2, I'd already done my stage 3. And we were just like redoing the run because we'd lost the footage. So I knew I was guaranteed to clear. But because the ball got stuck, I was like, okay, shit, I've still got to clear within the time limit, so that we don't have to keep doing this. So I just decided to shoot it and just friggin' went insane, save jumping down it, and it made for a very funny and entertaining run. Or Smokey just went insane, and I imagine people watching at home went insane, wondering what the hell I was doing. which subsequently made it even funnier. Yeah, definitely one of the more chilled Stage 2 runs I've had. I don't even remember the actual Stage 2 run, I just remember that. So I imagine the actual Stage 2 run was all well and dandy as well. But now Stage 3. So, because I'd mentioned about the whole, trying to get to the final stage, it was really on my mind to get back to the final stage. Even though I don't do it in this tournament, because of how close I got, or how close I get to beating it, that felt like progress, because that was the other thing that had happened to me. I kind of stagnated. It had been so long since I'd made it to the final stage, but also I was kind of falling away on Stage 3. I'd made it to the last obstacle 4 times in a row, but in the 4 attempts since then, I haven't made it to the final stage, and I haven't made it to the final obstacle of Stage 3, and it's really been stop-start. Like I cleared, it got to the point where now I was clearing Crazy Cliffhanger in one tournament, then failing it in the next tournament, then clearing it, then failing it, and so I was just I was losing a bit of the consistency, which I was so determined to build and keep up, which subsequently meant the cliffhanger took on a new level of seriousness for me. I think in this run, when I get to the cliffhanger, I just sit there for a few seconds and just get myself in the zone, ready, because I was so determined to beat the cliffhanger, especially after failing it in tournament 14. Just taking a bit of another sip of water. Quick shout out to this ball paddler. Smokey has a lot of obstacles. I haven't really talked about any of his obstacles, really. Some of them didn't work. I think we can agree on that. But some of them that did work are really underappreciated. That ball paddler is a very clever little obstacle. A lot tougher than it looks and you'd think. But I never really had a problem with it. Now you can see here, I'm so determined. I know that for me, this is the obstacle that I had, that was the be all or end all, that would make or break me on this Stage 3 run. Obviously, my overall record on the cliffhanger has been very good, but that was on the old version where the jump off of it was not that difficult. That's an interesting technique. I don't think I've ever done that ever again. I guess I managed to make it work. I was just, I don't know. I don't think I winged it. Obviously, I think I practiced to do it that way. But I felt a huge amount of relief when I got past the cliffhanger then, and I think I'd kind of convinced myself, wherever I fail after the cliffhanger now, if I do fail, then I'm satisfied. I think I felt even more relieved once I got past that chain seesaw thing. Because I thought, holy shit, I could finally get back to the last obstacle here for the first time in 5 tournaments. Because this vertical limit wasn't too difficult, and so I was quite confident on it. And then once I got to the pipe cider here, I thought, I laughed, I think. I was just like, oh my god, we finally made it back to the last obstacle. Could I really make it back to the final stage at last? And then when I didn't, because of the way I fail, but I think because if I'd failed the last jump, I probably would have been disappointed here. But because of how I fail, falling off the back of the antenna, because it's such a stupid fail, I saw the funny side of it. And I was just more laughing than disappointed or frustrated. But yeah, it's not as funny as Fireball's fail. I think Fireball's Scooby-Doo fail on this, where he jumps into the air and then runs, and then road runners off the back of he's sprinting but he's not moving, and then he falls off the back of the antenna. It's just quite funny. That's a pretty pitiful way to fail when you look at it from the above angle like that, because it just looks like I'm just on it, and then I just fall off the back of it. It's just like, how the fuck do you do that? But yeah, honestly, at that point, I was satisfied. I finally felt like, for the first time in a few tournaments, I felt like I'd made progress. I felt like I'd made... I feel like there was progress in Tournament 13, but that one was more of a... I made it to the obstacle that I knew I was probably going to fail. And so because I got there, and I didn't think I was going to get past it, I was satisfied. Whereas in this tournament, I felt a huge sense of progression. Because you know, I've made it back to the last obstacle for the first time in ages. I also put this bit in because this is the All-Star piece. This was him confirming me, Puma, and Gotenks as the Xbox One All-Stars. That's something else I haven't actually talked about. So I mentioned earlier about, you know, I established myself as the number 3 on this course, and he introduced the All-Stars from Tournament 8. But Smokey has had a little bit of a problem with All-Stars. I don't think it's been as bad as I have had with All-Stars. Whenever I seem to have a curse of All-Stars, people that I pick to be All-Stars, then subsequently either quit jumping, and so they've only been All-Stars for a few tournaments, or in Epic Landlord's case, only been an All-Star for one tournament. Or I pick All-Stars which do stick around, but then they start to suck. And I think Smokey had a similar problem with his 360 All-Stars, because he picked Dom, and Dom was coming to the end of his Halo jumping career. He picked Phil, and Phil, I think, has only cleared Stage 1 once as an All-Star, and that was in Tournament 8, which never even got broadcast properly. He picked Drago, and Drago had kind of fallen out of love, I think, with jumping after Tournament 7, so he basically had an All-Star which came back, but really his heart wasn't in it anymore. And then Buddy, who, without doubt, and I think everyone would agree with me on this, Buddy is probably the most skilled Halo jumper, or skilled jumper that we've ever had on Smokey's course, or on any jumping course, to be honest. But again, because he wasn't a ninja guy, he was a jumper. You know, it wasn't Halo Ninja Warrior wasn't the be-all and end-all for him. And so eventually he gave up and he wasn't interested. So because of that, Smokey had a huge problem with his 360 All-Stars. So he took his time with picking his Xbox One All-Stars. He didn't do what I did, and he didn't choose his Xbox One All-Stars before the first Xbox One tournament. He decided he was going to wait a few tournaments. He was going to do a few tournaments on the MCC, and then subsequently decide who would be his All-Stars. And I think obviously he's obviously made good choices picking Puma and Gotenks alongside me, because he knows he's got 3 people there that are hugely committed to the course. It was a huge bit of satisfaction for me as well, because I was the only person who'd been an All-Star on the 360 as well. And so it was sort of a sense of success, in the sense of my performances had paid off in terms of getting me to be an All-Star again. But then now we got Tournament 16. This is the last one in the video, guys. The video is almost over. This is the tournament where I finally managed to get back to the final stage, and this I don't know. I'm thinking about. I'm being very cautious here. This stage 1 had a few interesting obstacles on it, and I think I felt fine. I felt fine on it, but I did feel like, you know, I had to be on my game just to be sure, and I think that's why I came in with such a slow time. But I think also because this was the last MCC tournament, and subsequently this was the last tournament ever that Smokey had on the Halo 4 engine after 16 tournaments, I knew that this was this was like another Tournament 12 all over again. This was I have to beat stage 1 so I can finish on a high on the Halo 4 and on the MCC. Oh, I get an interview. I forgot about this. My God, I'm looking at the background, and like the superstructure is out of this world. Like it's like friggin', I don't even know. It's like Guantanamo or something. The amount of superstructure and stuff that's all around the stage 2. Like you can't see anything. Like if you had a helicopter, if you had an above shot, you can't see fuck all on that stage 2. This stage 2 was hard. I'm not going to lie. This is one of those stage 2s which it probably confused Smokey as much as it confused me, because the obstacles on this stage 2 were quite hard, and yet this is the tournament where we have a record number of stage 2 clears. 8 people cleared in this tournament, including people that you probably wouldn't have predicted to get to stage 3, like Sane. Sane made it back to stage 2 for the first time in like 4 tournaments, and he beat this stage 2, and this was the first time he'd beat it since like tournament 6. Also Weapon Matt, who'd never beat stage 2 before. Killer, who'd only beat stage 2 once. Paddy, who'd never beat stage 2 before. So it was definitely a winner. And yet Puma failed this stage. Puma failed this stage 2 and was devastated. And after seeing that, I'll be honest, I was determined to try and do it for Puma just as much as for myself. Oh, actually, I never even mentioned it. That last stage 1 run. Obviously, as you know, you get 2 attempts. I'd set this bizarre record or bizarre streak of always clearing stage 1 on my first attempt on the Xbox One. So I'd had those horrific fails I mentioned in tournaments 11 and 12 on my first attempt on stage 1. And subsequently since then, I've cleared stage 1 on my first try every time since then. And yeah, it was just one of those weird things. But coming into this stage 2, I think I failed the salmon ladder on my first attempt. And I was a little bit nervous because obviously Puma had failed the metal spin. I knew I was only going to get 1 shot at the metal spin on my second attempt. So I was a little bit, I was a little bit nervous about that, but fortunately I managed to get through it. I was friggin' shouting when I beat this stage 2. I was singing in Japanese when I beat this second stage, and then died in the water like that. That was lovely, wasn't it? It was lovely. Yeah, lovely. But yeah, that was a huge sense of satisfaction. And then this stage 3. Yet again, this is a stage 3 which I actually honestly think I felt like this was the stage 3 where I knew this was the one. This was the make or break, because I'd been doing it in practice and I'd been able to clear this stage 3 in practice. And then subsequently you have Weapon Matt and Gotanks, who also beat stage 3 in this tournament. I knew at that point, coming into just before I did my run, I knew this is the one. This is if I can't beat stage 3 in this tournament, there's a good chance I'll never beat stage 3 again, because 2 other people have managed to do it. A lot of other guys have got quite far into stage 3. This is the do or die moment. Unfortunately, I managed to deliver. The first attempt didn't go well at all because I failed getting off the crazy cliffhanger again, and I thought, oh my god, is this just going to be another tournament 12 and 14 all over again? But fortunately, I managed to keep my cool, because even though I failed it on my first attempt, I wasn't frustrated. I just thought, okay, come on, this is the one. This is the second attempt. This is the one. Put that first fail behind you. You're not failing the cliffhanger again. And fortunately, it all flowed well together. I think part of the reason is because of how quick I go. You can see, you could just see on this drum hopper how quickly I did it. That speed, it just kind of filled me with confidence. I mean, look how quick I'm doing this ball paddler. I have got the experience, obviously, of having done it in the last 3 tournaments. But my God, I don't think anyone ever did the ball paddler as fast as that. I do think going quickly definitely filled me with confidence, and as I got through obstacle by obstacle, I started to think this is my chance, this is my moment. I thought I was going to smack the ground then. I think I took my time there because I knew I'd failed this on my first attempt. But this is another one where I thought, even though I failed the jump, A bit like Tournament 14, I was shocked that I failed it. I didn't think I was going to fail it. Maybe I did my Tournament 15 technique and it didn't work. So then that's why I'm save jumping now. Okay, I did manage to do it. Oh yeah, I completely forgot this tournament had the Sidewinder in it. This is obviously one of Smokey's more well-known obstacles on Halo 5 on stage 3, but I completely forgot that this obstacle was in MCC. I think this obstacle was reasonably difficult, but it wasn't as difficult as it was on Halo 5. Once I got past that, I think I was feeling really good. And, I mean, you could just see there, the confidence then to skip a jump. I mean, I knew I had this obstacle down. And at this point, Pipe Slider, I thought, you know, first of all, I thought, let's attempt the last jump. I think I'm laughing there. That's why I was just kind of stopped for a second. I think I knew, you know, last jump, let's try and at least attempt it this time, and then we'll see what happens. Just trying to block everything out of my head. Oh, you can see the crowd. Like, what is that? You got Fireball. I know Snoz is there. Smokey's obviously there. I think I might just shut up for a second and look at the jump, because I feel. Yeah, I mean, I don't really back up all that much, but maybe I don't know if the jump was made easier. It must have been made a little bit easier if 3 people managed to do it, but you can see me crouched on the ground there. I almost like pulled an Obama mic drop. I just dropped to the controller and was almost at the point of just like, oh my god, thank you. Finally, I've managed to do it again. And yeah, it was just it's almost like how a lot of Sasuke competitors get now, where, you know, they beat a stage and they're on their floor and they're on the floor crying. And I'm not saying I was good. I was crying, but I did feel emotional at knowing that, you know, I'd finally managed to do it again after 10 tournaments. That's a long time. It's a long time coming, trying to get back to the final stage. But yeah, I think it also felt a lot cooler having having Weapon Matt there was cool as well, but especially having Gotenks there with me, because it was 2 fellow All-Stars taking on the final stage. But honestly, having the euphoria of beating stage 3, I think a little bit of that put me off my game, because my final stage run, total victory, honestly. I don't know if I'm talking about achieving... I'm talking crap in this interview, because I kind of like make myself think like, I put the question out there, am I as good as Buddy or Drago? But then I also say Puma, and Puma was the wrong name to say, and Smokey just decides to joke by putting and Snaz in as well. Also, Smokey gets his revenge on me here by shooting me in the head, ruining the intro. This is a big moment. Friggin', you know, I feel a real sense of satisfaction. I felt a huge sense of satisfaction when I did my intro in Tournament 6. I felt it even more when I did it in Tournament 16 just then, doing it at the bottom of the final stage. But, yeah, honestly, I think the euphoria of beating Stage 3 kind of put me off my game for this final stage, because I saw how Gotenks had done. He slipped up on this first obstacle, so all I was focused on, honestly, was just getting to the top. Like, I wasn't thinking about doing it in time, which was obviously the wrong mindset. I was just determined not to make a mistake, and even if that did mean going slow, which, again, is just absolutely the wrong mindset to have on the final stage, I was just, like, I mean, you can see I've already used up 20 seconds just to do the first obstacle, and I was not as quick at this ladder as Weapon Matt was. Weapon Matt was flying up this ladder. And you can see I'm about 4 jumps short when the clock hit 0. I knew I wasn't going to make it. I'd set myself up to fail by just, you know, by saying, you know, let's just get to the top. Because the satisfaction of standing at the top of that tower again, even though I failed, it felt like it was more than enough for me. But yeah, the joy of standing at the top of the tower again was satisfaction enough for me, but it was the wrong mindset to have, because obviously the ultimate goal is to achieve total victory. Also, it was actually a double punch in the gut because I'd thrown away my opportunity to get a first place because Weapon Matt beat me, and Weapon Matt gets first place in this tournament. And actually, I've had a few close calls. Tournament 15, I got joint second place as well in that tournament, along with a second place in this tournament. But yeah, it was bittersweet. I think is this last run. I think it was bittersweet with how it went. But yeah, that's the end of the video, guys. Hopefully you've survived through this 1 hour and 45-minute video. Hopefully I haven't been too boring. Hopefully you found this interesting and a little bit insightful into how my thinking and my thought process was doing these runs. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and we'll see you next time. I've been Hunt Unit 751. Bye, guys.